Investment Authority. We also have tax breaks that once you are a labeled startup, you have the opportunity of receiving those tax breaks. We have incentive for technology development areas where certain privileges will be given to participants in those areas. We also have credit schemes because we know funding is one of the most critical factors that affect startups. We also have capacity building and mentorship schemes contained in the act, because one of the challenges is people may have ideas but they don't have the business acumen to bring those ideas to fruition and also commercialize them. We intend to build the capacity of startups we have identified and labeled. We also have several other incentives, including return on investment for those who are investing in this startup. So if you're a foreigner and you invest in a local startup, we have made arrangement for repatriation of your investment when they yield. And then of course there are various platforms for collaborations with existing hubs that will enable these startups participate in activities and programs that will promote their businesses. The other issue which the act also deals with is the regulatory aspect. We know sometimes regulations are a bit challenging because the bar is high, especially for small businesses that are just starting. So we have a collaborative platform that will enable regulators come together to see how they can come up with special, should I say, concessions for these small companies.
Okay, let's say I own a startup company. So how do I take advantage of this act you're talking about?
Okay, first of all, you would have to apply to be a labeled startup, where the conditions are stated in the act. Of course, the National Information Technology Development Agency, NIDA, based on the approval of the council, will soon release the conditions necessary for you to be labeled as a startup. Once you are evaluated and your products have potentials for achieving a lot of for providing solutions to challenges, you'll be put through the labeling process, and all the other facilities that are available to label startups will be made available to you.
And then when do we begin to see the impact of this particular act?
Well, we've started the process of implementing the act. The president has to inaugurate the council, and then once that is done, we'll start the process of labeling all the startups that have applied, and then we will have meetings with regulators, and the other incentives will kick in. We do not have a specific time period, but we are working hard to make sure that this is done as quickly as it possibly can be done.
Okay, are we looking at technology-driven startups?
Yes, precisely, technology-driven startups, because we've identified the fact that from the latest Bureau for Statistics figures, the ICT industry has contributed about 18.44% of our gross domestic product, and this is just the core ICT. Meanwhile, ICT also supports other sectors, from the banking sector all the way to the agri sector. In fact, the World Bank report in 2019 said 35% of employed persons in Nigeria were employed under the agri-tech sector. The fintech sector has already grown, and so ICT supports all these sectors. So we are focusing on technology startups to ensure that they continue to grow their contributions to the GDP of Nigeria.
Okay, for startups out there, what should they expect?
I would say they should expect some form of certainty in the regulatory framework that supports them to grow. They should expect support from government as long as they meet the criteria. They should also expect support for exporting their goods and services, because basically the service industry is where we are actually targeting. The goods industry are also welcome, and we want fast track as much as possible. At least we hope that this will ease out some of the financial challenges. We have an alternative way of earning foreign exchange apart from the oil exporting goods and services as well.
Okay, you're talking about earning foreign exchange.
Yes.
So besides that, what does it do to the economy? How does the implementation of this particular act affect the economy?
already before the implementation of this act, we're already clocking 18.44 to GDP. We are hoping that with the implementation of this act, our profile in terms of startup companies, even unicorn companies, will grow beyond what we have now. We're already claiming 5 out of 7 in the entire Africa, and therefore they call us the big four: Nigeria, Tunisia, Egypt, and I think South Africa. So we are hoping to be the big one eventually as we continue to grow the startup ecosystem. We just want Nigerians to have an opportunity to compete favorably in the global space, and then also increase indigenous adoption of our local technology.
Okay, do you envisage any pitfalls in the act?
Well, like every venture you embark on, there will be challenges,
Of course.
and but we are sure that every challenge that comes up will be addressed accordingly. Again, NIDA is the secretariat that supports the council in the implementation of this act, and we believe that continuous dialogue and engagement will address any issue that may come up as we go along.
What about enlightenment about this act? How much does do the technology or startup ecosystem? How much does people know about this act?
Well, before the passing of the act, we had a massive public enlightenment campaign, and in fact, we engaged the ecosystem to contribute to the letters of the act, and so most of them are already aware of the existence of the act, and once the president signed it into law, we informed the ecosystem about the existence of this law. But that doesn't mean we are going to stop at that. We will continue providing enlightenment, and we are hoping that states also will catch up on this and maybe come up with their own startup framework as well, to support startup from the various states and all the geopolitical zones in Nigeria. So we will engage government, we will engage the private sector, we will engage the startup ecosystem continuously to ensure that everything works well for the promotion of startups in Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much, Barrister Emmanuel Edet, Head Legal and Board Matters Unit of the National Information Technology Development Agency, NIDA.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Moving on, our COVID-19 segment today. Business Express caught up with a trader who yearns to get any of the loans offered by the CBN to boost her business.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
What comes to making shoes is I love handwork, I love doing things, I love seeing people wear or use what I make. I have something unique, something most ladies don't do. I found out that making is one thing that most women don't do, and so I decided to go to it. I started making shoes in 2019, or I would say I picked it as a profession in 2020 after the lockdown. Before COVID, I used to have a stand by the roadside where I stayed to make my shoes. And then COVID came and the lockdown, the stay at home, so I had to go back home. I had to start working from home. It wasn't really easy because most people I do work for, I lost contact with them because of the whole COVID thing. And then I hardly go out to make my delivery since most of my sales were online as at then. Business before COVID was doing a little well, but I would say I've progressed now. During COVID, it was discouraging. I heard of one, a couple of loan, whatever, started coming up. People would say CBN is giving this, federal government is giving that, but I never took any of that serious first. It was coming from different people, from different platforms. Loan will really help my business to grow very well, because as you can see, the whole place is not like I want it to be. But if I can get a little boost, wow, I'll be very, 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 very happy because to make me get more machines, to make me get more materials, to make more food, to make me reach out to more customers that I want to.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank.
Now to stocks, the equities market closed Wednesday's trading session, the last day of November, in positive territory. The all-share index climbed 0.71% at 47,660.04 basis point. A total turnover of 107 million securities, value at 1.3 billion naira, exchange hands in 3,227 deals. Equity capitalization increased to 25.9 trillion naira. The financial services industry led the activity chart with FBN Holdings, Fidelity Bank, and Zenith Bank. For a look at stock markets outside the country, let's join Bosode Eba for a global stock market update.
Investors' focus this Thursday turns to initial jobless claims ahead of the much-anticipated November jobs report due out Friday. European market head for a higher open Thursday after U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said smaller interest rate hikes could begin in December. Stock futures in U.S. ticked higher in early Thursday trading. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average added 23 points, or 0.07%, while those tied to the S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 gained 0.22% and 0.24%. Markets in Asia traded higher, carrying on the optimism behind Wall Street's rally. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rose 1.42%. In mainland China, the Shanghai Composite was up 0.45%, and the Nikkei 225 in Japan also topped 0.92% to 28,226.08, while Africa markets are expected to open positive this Thursday. Boss said the Able Business Express.
Before we go, a look at the official exchange rate of the Naira. Well, that wraps Business Express for now. Remember to send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also, be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us via our various social media platforms. Business Express returns Friday at 3 p.m. I'm Musa Waka, wishing you the very best of December.